What I'd like to do first is kind of brief you from a staff perspective on where we're at on this project and what has transpired. Last year, during the budget deliberation process, the sheriff had a dialogue with Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, and the school board became aware of that dialogue, that there was a real need still to find a site for Eastern Loudoun Sheriff Substation for the sheriff to implement his community policing model. The sheriff has probably for 7 years working with county staff been trying to find a site suitable in this part of the county to establish a presence and a community policing program. The school board was very generous at that point and said, in evaluating properties that they owned, there were approximately 4 acres at this site, the Rolling Ridge Elementary School site, that could be evaluated and considered for that sheriff's substation. It was determined that the site indeed was suitable, and at that point, the Board of Supervisors directed us to start a public process with the community about the idea of locating a sheriff's substation in this community. Staff's recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that, given right now budget considerations, a site that is buildable and constructible, the utilities exist, the necessary roadways are in place, the cost benefit of having to not relocate other programs or to fund other buildings to make another location work, that it will be our recommendation as staff of the county that the board use the Rolling Ridge site as the sheriff's substation. As your Sterling District representative, he's going to share his perspective on his working on this issue.
Thank you, Chairman York, Aaron, Paul, Sheriff, and staff. Appreciate the opportunity. I promised we'd come back. I know we had to push this for that meeting. I know you hustled for the November 1st meeting. I put it together right away. As soon as it became apparent that we needed to really start moving on this in some way to get the public as a partnership. My goal, I do alert people about this. Scott, I appreciate the newspapers that are present for publishing and letting people know about this. I agree with you that there should be more of a mailing on this, Mr. York, and I will work with you on that, make sure that they have the right address and the right streets. In general, these meetings are just the beginning, just a place to start, so you understand what we had to go through for the last 7 or 8 years. You have a list that I asked for at the last meeting, and it has explained what exactly we had to go through for asking where we can possibly put this location. At the end, a private partnership came in. At the end of the list, I referred to the properties reviewed for the substation. I might add that it got intense at some point when we realized there wasn't any properties available. And that some of the properties, I mean, we had in mind, we would actually disrupt people and further delay the building of the station. And that's the discussion that we have on a regular basis. How fast can we build something? Where can it be built? How can it be funded? And under the topic of a site that's buildable, constructible, transportation in place, and not relocate other services, that's really where we have to work and rely on the staff. Citizen group on design, I think that would begin in the next 90 days. For those of you who are interested in some aspects and details of this, please consider what exactly you see here on the map in front of you on your table, on your seats. That map only shows an outline of graphics. I mean, it is not a flesh, blue color, tint, and so on. The details, the scale, the height, design, all of that comes from a citizen advisory group. Testimony, of course, at the Public Planning Commission, at the Board of Supervisors level, that comes as part of the special exception process. Is another aspect of this. We actually have to consider the scope of the building, the scope of the construction. Again, different from the design, but for legal reasons, during our budget process last year, we placed this in the CIP, the construction project for the construction investment project for Loudoun County. So if we're going to work on those details, details. For legal reasons, in order to get this built at a location, we'd have to be making sure that we're in concert with the Planning Commission, the school board, staff, and we have this on the ballot in the right legal language in November. In order to do that, some of that legal language, some of those things have to deal with the ballot, how the ballot is printed, and that ballot would be obviously printed sometime prior to the election and then placed in the machines. So that would be a referendum on the method of funding general obligation bond, but this April, we will be working on that. So again, the two things we'll be working on immediately is the method of funding, the language that we'll be working on for the general obligation bond, and the Citizens Advisory Panel. The reason we have to have a Citizens Advisory Panel is that we're going to be looking at the design, and the design will have an impact on the cost. And that's why we have to then at least go through some method so we know exactly what we're going to be having on the ballot. I think in the next 90 days, we would have to have
I'm going to share a little bit about that.
Okay. In other words, November 1 to now, the only thing we're missing from this list of things, the timetable, description of the overall process, how we're going to fund it, the details of where the sites were, is a report on crime. There was a request at the last meeting back in November 1, and I know there are other people with other stuff, but I remember someone asking, we can handle this when we're ready, the aspect of crime, why this area of Eastern Loudon, why this area a substation, and can we quote prove that there's a need for a substation in this area, and that really, we routinely give it to the Public Safety Commission. At the time I said, well, November 1 to now, there's probably been 5. I don't know, you're on this Public Safety Commission, New York. There's been a number of meetings where you've gotten these reports, and any of those routine reports could be brought here, or at least revealed without violating any public propriety. Thank you.
We say welcome to the neighborhood. We're sorry it's taken this long, and we wish there was a way to speed it up.
We need a sheriff's station. We need them bad. The sheriff needs help. The sheriff has come to the board many times to ask.
Thank everyone for coming tonight. While you're captive, there is a transportation meeting regarding improvements on Route 7. I've handed out a brochure, green, I guess that's green, next February 8th. That is a collaboration between me and the Board of Supervisors and what they've authorized for road improvements along Route 7. And of course, there's no admission to that one either. And